Okay, so this should be the very last video regarding this whole specific thing. I sure hope so, at least. Um, so if you watched the last video and or the video before that, this is a part three to a little job story time about some stuff that was going on with my coworkers at my most recent job, and I've got Grand Chase playing in the background while I talk about it all. I want to point out that my microphone has been acting a little weird as far as recording videos go. I believe it's because I'm using a different app for audio, and I've been using it for pretty much everything. But I've been trying to change it so that whenever I record videos, it doesn't pick it up. If my videos start coming out to be a little like less comprehensive, a little fuzzier, a little harder to understand, or overall just kind of like in bad quality as far as like audio goes, I will have to change something definitely. But for now, let's get back to the story. All right, right after all that, I hit you with a quick mic change. I don't know how this is going to sound. It's either going to be really clear or really bad. This is like the standard mic that I basically use, like my standard mic settings and whatnot. But whatever the case may be, I'm going to get back to everything that I was talking about. So, my main thing about it all was that in my last video or so, I talked about how um, I had like the church going coworker who was like being super rude, right, for no reason. So come to find out, he's actually very upset, and he's upset with me because I left the room empty. Mind you, the room was empty when I was working with the first girl that I had in the first video that I was talking about, right? Because I went to the bathroom, I came out of the bathroom, the room was completely empty. That's not the only time the room has been completely empty, but it's for sure one of the times that I can recall. Uh, like I said, there have been plenty of times where people will like leave and pass another coworker while they're out on their way, and the room will be empty then. Probably longer than stated, but in this case, the room was empty for maybe like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe. No, like exact number to be sure. Right. So this old coworker comes in and he's like, I got something to tell you. And I was like, hey, like, what's wrong? What's going on? Because it's out of character for him to come, like, attacking me for something. So I didn't really know what was going on. And I didn't know if, like, something had happened to him, like he had gotten sick or something. The way that he worded it, phrased it, the way that he sounded, he made it seem like as if something was genuinely wrong. So I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, um, he's like, I'd expect this from the female coworkers, but not you. I wouldn't expect you to do me this wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? Because I had no idea what he was talking about. And he doesn't really explain it. He just keeps going on this rant of like how I'm disgusting and he's surprised I would even do something like this. And I'm like, did I make an OnlyFans and like overprice like the videos? Like, what's the issue? Because by this point I am actually genuinely like in tune. I'm trying to figure out what's got him so mad because mind you, this coworker I've done like a lot for. I've worked a lot with. He asked me to help him break down some of like old company stuff so he could take it to his house. Um, for like an hour or more, we were basically ripping doors off the hinges and throwing them in the back of his truck. We offer to get each other food. And I mean, I do this with a lot of coworkers, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm complete strangers with all these people. We have actually been close enough to talk, maybe even feed each other, share food, let the others go off, like go home early, all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? So for them to start like switching up and doing all this crazy stuff, really threw me for a loop. So I'm like trying to figure out with him, what's going on. And then he tells me, you left. It's like, I left? Like, what do you mean I left? He was like, you left when you were supposed to be here doing this, when you were supposed to be doing that, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, you mean the other day? He was like, yeah, you shouldn't have left. I was wrong. And I was like, and that's when I kind of like cracked a smile because I was like, did you really like come into the room and ignore me and like treat me cold and do all this like half stuff because of that when you could have like came to me man to man from the jump and said it all? He was like, That's when it like set in my mind that he was building himself up to confront me, which was super strange to me. You know, you're like a 60, 70-year old man. Well, why are you coming at me like this? You know what I mean? And so he ends up telling me that he does all this stuff for me and that I shouldn't be doing this. And of course, I had to ask him, you know, while trying not to laugh, what stuff do you do for me? And actually, so I'll give you kind of like a play by like of what happened. So I told him that I ended up leaving, right? And I told him that I told the manager, which he didn't believe. So he calls the manager on the phone and puts him on speaker because he thinks that I'm lying and the manager is going to talk against me. And the manager goes, "Nope, he called me and he told me." And I was like, "Well, there you go. Like, there you have it." And he's still getting mad and he's talking over me and he's not like hearing me out at all. He just wants to be angry. And eventually I snap back at him and he smiles. So it's like he wanted me to be violent. I guarantee you, if he would have put his hands on me, he would have been getting sent to the ER. I guarantee you it. But it was crazy to think that this guy had like this sick side of him where he just wanted other people to have a bad day, right? And he was also more so upset because, like I said, he said he'd seen like he's used to the female coworkers doing it because for him to come in later means while he was working with the first girl I mentioned, it means that he was actually by himself for like an hour and 30 minutes as well. Little fun fact, he hates working that shift, that late shift. He told me he hated it. I don't know why he's working it because it's usually my shift, but he's been working it and he said he hates it. And I know it puts him in a grumpy mood, but if that's the case, he should have told the manager. But instead of complaining to the manager, he's taking his anger out on me. And so we're going like back and forth with the manager on the phone, and I'm talking to the manager, and he's talking to the manager, and then he ends up saying that he does all this stuff for me, and I was like, "Name one thing you did for me," and he's like, "Well, I cover shifts for you all the time," which is true, but also not. And I ended up calling him out on it, and the manager was like, "Well, no, he does." And I was like, "Name one time where like he's covered a shift for me." And my manager points out, he's like, "Well, what about the times when you're in school?" And I stopped and I was like, "Are you stupid?" Because what happened is I ended up having to pick an internship up. If you keep up with my channel, I've had some videos where I talk about my internship, some of the stuff I've learned, some of the people I've gotten to meet. I probably haven't gone super in detail with it. Maybe one day I will. But at the internship, before it started, I let my manager know, hey, this is basically a second job. It's something mandatory that I have to do for school. I have to have at least 20 hours at this internship, so there will be days where I come in late. And he's like, all right, cool. Now, mind you, he signed off on it, right? He gave me the okay. I gave him a warning, I gave him a heads up, and on days where I came in late, I still came into work. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 times where maybe I didn't, but that's mainly because the old guy texted or called me and told me I don't have to come in. Like I said, he likes to steal people's hours. He likes to steal people's time. I'm not going to show up for this guy to tell me he doesn't want me working my shift and is fighting me for money. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. So that's why I was confused because I'm like, no, 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 you really haven't. And I even told the manager that, and he was like, oh, okay. And he goes quiet on the phone because he realizes he has no say. So then the old guy keeps reiterating this one part where he keeps saying that I came in 2 hours late and he worked my 2 hour shift, which I can't be blamed for that for. And I'll explain why. You know, it's not like I'm just constantly making excuses. But in this case, I went to the fair. You know, I went to the fair with some friends and I was out for the entire day. I was out for like 9 or 10 hours at the fair. I get home. It's about 1 something in the morning, right? Pushing on 2 something. I left for the fair, I want to say around like 2 p.m., maybe before that, right? So it's about 1, 2 something in the morning when I'm like finally home. I was so tired I didn't even shower. I was just like, I'm going to get in bed, I'm going to go to sleep. Now, the day that I went to the fair, I usually get my work schedule on that day. But my manager did not send me my schedule. And he sends everybody, as far as I know, he sends just about everybody their schedules through text message. So if I didn't get my schedule, it just let me know, hey, I'm probably not supposed to be working that day. So he'd give me my schedule for the next day so I would for sure know. So, like I said, it's almost 2 a.m. I'm getting ready, I'm going to sleep. I get a phone call. I'm like, huh, you know, that's weird. Who is this? So I go and I check it, and it's the old guy because a lot of us have each other's numbers saved just in case we need to work somebody else's shift or we need to warn somebody if something's happening or whatever the case may be. It's whatever. So I'm like, why is he calling me? So I pick up and I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? And because I genuinely don't know. It's like, hey, you're supposed to come in tonight, right? I was like, come in? I was like, I never got any notification about that. And by this point, now, this day, he was like cutting me off. Yeah, 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 you're supposed to come in. I was like, okay, I'll hit the manager up and see what's going on. So I hit the manager up and I'm like, hey, I'm not supposed to be at work tonight? And he's like, oh, yeah, I am so sorry. I was supposed to give you your schedule. You were supposed to work tonight. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know. And so I tell the old guy, get back on the phone with the old guy. Old guy's like, oh, it's all good. You don't have to come in tonight. It's already like 2 something. I can just work your shift. So I told my manager, like the old guy's trying to work my shift. Is it cool if he takes my shift and in return, I just work one of his shifts later this week? And my manager goes, no. I'm like, huh? He's like, no. And I'm like, he's already 2 hours in. And by this point, like, mind you, the old guy is telling me, don't come in. I've got your shift. He's saying that he's going to work it. So I'm like, if he's this adamant about taking my hours, just trade us days. We pretty much work the same schedules anyway. And he's like, no, you got to go in. So I tell the old guy, I'm on the way. Manager says I have to come in. We can't trade shifts. And the old guy's like, all right, well, I'll just see you when you show. I was like, all right, cool. So I show up. Mind you, I don't get there until like 3:30, maybe a little bit before then, somewhere around 3, basically, right? You're probably like, why? Well, because it's an overnight shift. It was a shift that was supposed to be happening around 12 in the morning till 8 in the morning at the time, and I was going to be coming in at 3 in the morning. So I had to take a shower, didn't want to show up there funky, didn't want to be up there for 5 hours covered in must. Not only that, but I was obviously dead tired because I'd been at the fair for literally like at least 7 hours, if not longer, and most of it was standing and walking around, right? It was a terrible day at the fair, by the way. I might have a video for that. It was a real bad day at the fair. It was not fun at all. I would have had a better day being in bed the entire day, or being at home for sure the entire day. But I went to the fair, and so I went to shower. Whenever I work shifts like that, I pack food because all the food places are closed overnight unless you go to like another town or city, which is just a waste of gas. So I showered, I packed food, I changed clothes. I basically got ready to work overnight. So I don't show up until like 3 a.m. Now I'm like there. I let the old guy go. All right. So he should have clocked out around 3 in the morning, maybe 3:10, 3:15, somewhere around 3:30, if not sooner than that. Right. This guy does not clock out of his shift until about 4 in the morning. Manager texts me that day asking me why is he leaving at 4, saying that I showed up around like 3:40, 3:50, 4 o'clock, something like that. And I was like, no, he stays over. And I'm not the first person to tell the manager that he stays over, but my manager kind of just laughs at it. Whenever something is going on that shouldn't be going on, my manager's his first action is to laugh at it as if it's funny, and he kind of just lets it go. It's like, oh, those darned workers. And it's like, no, man, what he's doing can get you fired. You should be cracking down on him. You should be cracking down on her. But he doesn't. So it's whatever. All right. I don't care. So that's what the old guy was talking about. And I explained to him, like, that night, I was like, you can't call me out on that because I'm not in the wrong for it. And I told him, like, I told him everything that had happened. And he goes, you're just making excuses. I was like, how is that an excuse? I literally just told you what happened. And I was like, you know what? I was like, if I'm making excuses, why were you late that night? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're usually here an hour early, 30 minutes early. You're always on time. Why were you late that night? And he was like, oh, well, I overslept. And I was like, so that justifies you being late? I was like, that's an excuse. And he goes, we're not talking about me. You can't turn this back on me. And I was like, we're surely not talking about me. And he's like, yes, we are. And I was like, well, you can talk about me. I'm gone. And by that point, now I'm talking about it in a real civil manner. But by that point, we were both yelling at each other, most likely cussing at each other, just going hand in hand, mad at each other over something as small as the room being empty for like 2 minutes, right? And I knew it wasn't really about the room being empty. He did not want to work that shift, and he didn't want to work with that girl, but he's been having to work with her, you know? And so he just took it out on me. Like, because the week after that, he was just friendly. You know, oh, how you been? You good? Blah, 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 blah. Offering to buy me food, all kinds of stuff. And I've just been how that girl was treating me. You know, like if you're gonna be two-faced, if you're gonna talk behind my back, if you're gonna lie, then there's no point in me, you know, being buddy buddy with you. I now work with people enough to where like, um, obviously I can stomach being with you in the same room because I'm not gonna let somebody, you know, mess up my paycheck. But at the same time, I'm not going to, you know, go above and beyond to self-disclose and talk about this or that, right? I can't relate with a snake. So, yeah, man, you know, been there for like a year and some change, maybe a year and a half almost. And I've just got stories out the wazoo about these coworkers who are years older than me. They could be my parents, some can be my grandparents. And here they are, you know, acting like schoolgirls. It's absolutely crazy, and a lot of them are like that. A ton of them are like that. So, um, yeah, that was just one job, by the way, my most recent one. And if it were up to me, if I could, I'd make like an entire YouTube series about it, put the company name on blast, put all the experiences on blast, and just get the entire property shut down or get everybody fired, right? Like, why work there? Why put yourself in a situation like that, right? But some people need the money. Some people are willing to deal with others who are just scumbags. Some people just don't care. So, you know, I'm not gonna rain on your parade and deter you from possibly working for this company or working in that exact location or whatever the case may be, you know? Instead, I'll just keep making content by um, talking about the stuff that's happened to and with me. That way, people can laugh and point at me for having such a terrible work experience or having so many terrible work experiences. But yeah, that was like the main issue with those coworkers. I do have stories about others for sure. I don't know when I'll tell them. Like I said, if people ask, I'll probably get a little more in detail about them. If nobody asks, I might do it whenever I'm feeling like in the mood for it. But overall, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Um, yeah, this video. One of the videos said it was gonna push around like 30 minutes. It ended up being like 28. This one says it's gonna push maybe around 19. It'll probably be like 16. But yeah, hope this trilogy, this three-part trilogy, was something that somebody enjoyed. This is also to get rid of some of my older Grand Chase gameplay. Like I said, I know for sure I've got some Roblox gameplay that's older that I want to get rid of as well. And I have a few folders worth of new recorded gameplay that I want to put out to show you all. I just don't know what I want to make videos on, you know, because there's so much I could cover, there's so much I could talk about. I wanted to start having some more like funny moments, recordings of me from live streams and whatnot, but I'm still trying to get all of that down, and I'm still getting some of the settings down for my recordings. So yeah, if you see videos like this, or any videos with just gameplay, you see me playing Deep Woken, you see me playing Grand Chase, you see me playing L Sword, Path of Exile, Fortnite, Apex, whatever the case may be, and you want somebody to join in with you. You know, I'm usually down to play games. If I turn you down, it's because I'm on a mission to do something else or play something else. It's not because I don't like you. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Today has been a day, man. Peace out.